fantasy football franchise, talking about that guy, Hoogie, Tyler every week. Heavy analytics, competition real steep. Whoa, that's sweet. Oh, in this belief, Nick so sick, man, bringing ships the whole fleet. Goats, not sheep. Follow every tweet. Don't sleep, always finding sleepers on the street. Boy, F3, winning every single league. Money back guaranteed, but it's free. Welcome to the franchise. Welcome to the franchise. Let's go.
Welcome back to the F3 podcast. My name is Sean. You can find me at Lanny1925 on Twitter. I am here with my co-host Andrew.
Hey, what's up? You can find me at DubsFans02.
And I'm here with Joey as well.
You can find me at Joey the Tooth IDP.
All right. How'd you guys do in fantasy this week?
Horrible.
Not bad.
Oh, really?
Not really.
These last couple of weeks have been
I was like,
two of my better ones.
I won like 60% of my leagues, but I just lost the one to you. The bye weeks kind of killed me.
Yes, you did.
The bye weeks kind of killed me this week. And David Johnson.
It's like the second week in a row, I think I've won 9 out of 11, and the 2 that I'm losing in are ones that I'm kind of hoping to lose in because I want the draft pick next year. So this was 2 really good weeks in a row for me. But yeah, a lot of fantasy news going on this week. A lot of running back news, to be honest. Just a lot of situations. Yeah, a lot of situations starting to get shaken up here. Yep. So, Andrew, you got somebody you want to talk about first?
It's not specifically running backs, but running back related. What's going on with the Rams?
Oh, gosh.
They look terrible.
They look horrible.
See,
I thought it was a good win earlier in the year for the Niners when they beat them 20-7. Now I realize the Rams just aren't that good this year.
Yeah, and they should be. I mean, missing Brandon Cooks doesn't help, obviously.
Right. But Josh Reynolds isn't a slouch to fill in.
I mean, he's not Brandon Cooks. He doesn't have the same effect on the field. You know, like Brandon Cooks can stretch the field. Josh Reynolds can't. You know, it's not what he does.
Right.
So it definitely has to change things. Not getting Cooper Kupp involved is astounding to me.
0 receptions.
It makes me wonder if, like, they just didn't fear Robert Woods at all. You know, so they're just like, well, no Brandon Cooks. We're just going to take away Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, and I guess in the postgame, Tomlin said he was really like surprised and very pleased to have taken Kupp away. So I don't know if that was part of their game plan, and he was like, "Wow, I didn't realize how well we done it," or how that worked out. But
Joe Hayden just played his butt off.
Maybe that's it. But clearly, they weren't the same team last year when Kupp went down, and so taking him, like game planning to take him out, is clearly an effective way of shutting them down because. I didn't see any of the game, but box score was ugly.
Really ugly.
So, is there anybody on this Rams offense that you're buying?
Kupp?
Todd Gurley. Okay. I'm buying Todd Gurley. I know it's been really bad to start the season, but he actually ran the ball quite well yesterday. He had 12 carries for 70 yards, and it's getting towards the end of the season. I think they're going to start to up his carries.
Okay, so are you buying him like on a team that you're looking for a championship run? Like,
yeah.
Because I don't think
dynasty-wise, Kupp. Just Kupp.
I kind of like buying Gerald Everett, just because I think that they are not going to be able to keep Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, and Cooper Kupp, and I think that the person who's most going to benefit from one of them vacating is going to be Gerald Everett.
Yeah, that makes sense, definitely.
So I think that's an interesting buy right now. I am buying Darrell Henderson as well. I think that they didn't spend a draft pick on him without a plan, and I think that Gurley is they're going to have to start lightening the workload down the road. Maybe not down the road this year, but I don't think the game plan can be to just run them into the ground.
Right.
So, I don't know. Those are 2 guys that I'm interested in buying. Joey, anybody you want to talk about?
David Johnson.
Oh man.
He has screwed me 2 weeks now. Yes, he's going to play. Yes, he's going to play. And then he gets at max 5 carries. It happened a couple weeks ago. They told he wasn't even on the injury report, and he got 1 carry, and that was it. This week he got, 5 carries for 0 yards?
So he picked up 2. Picked up 2 yards.
I think he had a fumble, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they benched him.
And if you're playing in an IDP league, he did have a tackle.
He did. Is this the end of the line, do you think, for David Johnson?
I don't think so. Yeah, his ankle has to get healthy. If it's not healthy, they need to stop playing around and putting him in the game. They just need to let him get healthy. They have Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake obviously played well his 1 game as the full-time starter. Chase Edmonds, same deal. The only thing that scares me is both of those guys have been highly productive running the ball as to where David Johnson hasn't been this year.
No, he hasn't. So looking at his contract, really so next year they can't really cut him. So it'll be $16 million in dead cap. But after next year, they can save themselves, let's see, $9 million by cutting him.
But I honestly think adding Kenyon Drake to the mix, maybe they can do a 1-2 punch next year, so it's not so much. If they can do something like a Brady Coleman, where you don't really have a lead guy.
But do you think that they're going to run the ball enough to make that effective, especially seeing as like Kenyon Drake was getting passing work yesterday?
Well,
so
both of them are great receivers out of the backfield, so you can still play either down. So you can still do the same situation. You have 1A, 1B, and whoever's just playing the better game, just play them.
Right. So in a pass-heavy offense where the running back targets are being split, is that really an effective? No. So what are we doing with David Johnson? Because I think I want to do anything I can to get out from that.
Yeah, I was so big on him to start the year, and I think I'm going to start selling soon.
Yeah.
The problem is most of my leagues, I'm still competitive this year, and I still have a chance. So it's like, do I hold out in hopes that he does keep going, or am I just going to see if I can get anything for him?
Have you been competitive because of him, though, or in spite of him?
To start the season, because of him. He got great PPR production and touchdowns earlier in the season. And it's just since his ankle issue arose, it's just been.
So I guess my approach to that, though, is like if you think you're just as good the rest of the season without him, move him, get something for him, and then like you're a potentially championship team with still having draft capital going into next year. Do you know what I mean? Like you can continue to churn and get younger and productive. That's my theory anyway.
Yeah.
Right, because so if he goes back to Arizona next year and plays in the committee, which I do think they're a candidate to take a running back out of this talented 2020 class, because just to me, from an organizational standpoint, it makes sense to add a running back to this group with the hopes that you kind of ease them in year 1, and then David Johnson leaves and you know what you have in him year 2.
Mm-hmm.
So if he leaves after next year, he's going to be going into the 2021 season as a 29-year-old running back, potentially coming off a committee role.
Yeah.
That's not somebody that I think is going to buy himself like a workhorse back role on another team, especially because the 2021 class is pretty good too. I mean, I think this might just be the end of the line. And I think this is where you get out from him.
Man. It's so tough. It's so tough to see. He's got so much talent there. There really is a lot of talent there. He showed it. What was it? 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Yeah.
There's just so much there, and it's just fading so fast.
2016, I think it was.
Was it?
Yeah. He's been hurt, and he's getting older, and he's not getting the rushing volume. And I think that adding more pieces to that running back group is just going to suck away the receiving volume as well.
Right.
So, all right. I want to talk, I guess we'll go to break in a second here. We should real quick bring up Barkley's atrocious day yesterday.
Barkley got injured too, didn't he?
He got injured. He got injured toward the end of the game, but it definitely wasn't that wasn't the reason he played poorly. He was 13 carries for 8 yards.
And it was pretty crazy seeing Wayne Gallman getting mixed in just out of the blue. Gallman barely ever plays, but they actually used him yesterday.
Yeah.
1
Yes,
yard.
Tander.
1 yard.
yard. Is that what it was?
13 per 1 yard.
Well, and it's just astounding to me that when you're playing down like that, you're not trying to get him out into space and throw him the football, because he didn't really have receiving production.
He had
At least, like,
5 for 30.
Yeah, I mean that's not anything compared to, like,
what he's normally going for.
Right. That's not anything above average for him, you know. So if you're not getting him going on the ground, I think you got to get him the ball through the air, and that just wasn't the case. So
no, he's definitely their best offensive weapon. They need to find a way to get him the ball.
Yeah. So I think it was rib injury, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I thought it was ribs. So,
yeah.
The good news is it's not anything that should linger. So if it's something that he can come back and play through, he should be fine. But it's definitely something to monitor. We don't have all the news on that yet. So we are going to take a short break, and then we'll be back to talk a couple more guys here. All right, and we are back. Joey, who you got to talk about?
Brian Hill, Atlanta. Let's see. Ito Smith's on IR. Devonta Freeman is actually probably going to be out for a little while. He got injured yesterday. So Brian Hill is going to be your pretty much every down back. I think they'll bring in Olsen a little bit, but I still don't think he's going to do too much. Maybe just quick change of pace, but I think it's going to be Hill.
Olsen was another healthy scratch, wasn't he? Or did he play?
I think he was a healthy scratch last week, but I mean,
yeah.
I think with Freeman missing time, he'll play, just bare, not much. It's going to be Hill's going to have an almost every down role.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is he's a player that I'm definitely wanting to sell to a contender, because I don't see much value beyond this year.
Right.
Because I think if they don't dip into the 2020 class, they'll be one of the candidates to sign somebody in free agency, just because that seems like a good situation for them to go out and sign somebody and let Freeman go. But so yeah, Brian Hill, I don't like his long-term value all that much. I do like his role in the offense this year. And I think that he's probably going to get a decent amount of work. Kadre Allison is a sneaky buy, though. He's probably on the waiver wire in a lot of places. He'll be one of the hot waiver wire pickups, I think. But because he's still young enough, and we haven't seen anything from him. So he still has potential. Whereas Brian Hill, to me, we've seen what he's capable of, and it's kind of just like, meh, you know.
And Olsen played great in the preseason. He was one of the better players of the preseason.
He was one of my sleeper picks before the NFL draft, and then he got no draft capital, and so he was kind of just like the last couple rounds of my really deep roster picks. But so yeah, that's definitely an interesting one.
Does Hill have any value in the passing game?
What was that?
Does he have any value in the passing game? Because like he got 2 targets yesterday, 1 for 10. That's not exciting. To me, like 20 for 61 yesterday is not exciting. Is he just a plotter? Like, what's the story on Hill? I don't know much about him.
No, he can catch the ball. He's actually got decent top end speed as well. So he's not just a plotter. It's just a matter of how they utilize him in the offense. And Atlanta was kind of just slinging it yesterday. A lot of deeper stuff down the field to Julio and Calvin Ridley.
Right, but is that going to change because their defense can't stop anybody, so they're playing from behind?
I bet it'll change a little bit. I mean, they played New Orleans yesterday, and New Orleans they're a pretty good defense. I think they'll have better success moving forward.
But normally New Orleans is a much better offense than they were yesterday as well. Like Atlanta has been not good this year, so I don't trust I don't know if I trust a running back that I don't really believe in their talent in.
But that's why you sell high right now.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'd sell him if I had him.
I mean, I think at this point, in the year, if you're a contender, you're trying to land cheap starting running backs, because anybody can go down with injury at any point, and unless you're running 5 running backs deep, you need the depth.
Mm-hmm.
So, is he somebody that you want to be starting every single week? No, but that's not what you're trying to get here. You know what I mean?
Yep.
All right, Andrew, you got someone you want to talk about?
Aaron Jones.
Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, he's still killing it. So
3 more TDs.
Is this sustainable? Is this a sell high window? Is he going to keep doing this?
3 TDs a game is not sustainable. No. I think he's going to continue to have weeks like this from time to time, though.
And he's also showed, outside of a couple weeks ago, I watched him just boneheaded drop the seam route like horribly, and I was just like, what happened to Aaron Jones? He can catch the ball, but recently after that,
he's actually never been. He's never been that great at catching the ball. That's always been one of the big complaints about him.
But they've been wanting to get him more involved doing it.
The week after that seam route, he caught the exact same ball on a mirror image seam route. Like they're going to continue to give him opportunities.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he, following that drop, like he has produced very well in the passing game.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I do think that going forward, that's definitely something where he could lose work to a more talented receiving back because he's just not all that good at it. Like he's not natural at it.
Right.
Where like almost every running back can catch the football to some extent. It's just a matter of how natural they are at doing it and whether there's a better fit for it on the roster. And we even saw the last couple of years, like they were trying to get Jamal Williams the ball in the passing game because he's just a better receiver. Whereas now they've kind of leaned a little more into Aaron Jones, but I think if they landed somebody who actually caught the ball really well, he wouldn't be seeing those looks on third down, you know?
Yeah.
Let's talk. Speaking of running backs that can't catch, Ronald Jones, 8 receptions this week. So, I mean, I think that was really the sticking point on Ronald Jones this whole time is he can't catch the football. And I still don't believe he can, but similar to Aaron Jones, if they're going to throw him the football and give him easy targets, like suddenly he's a viable running back.
Yeah, I do like the 8 targets. The only thing that does worry me is he still split carries with Peyton Barber, and Barber actually outproduced him in the running game.
Yeah, I mean, he had 11 touches on the ground.
Yep. So, but I don't think he's going to get 8 targets every game. Not with Godwin and Mike Evans. So that still lowers his ceiling for me. I don't know.
Okay, but say he gets 10 carries and 5 targets. I mean, you're looking at like a decent workload.
Right. But what has he done with it all season? He hasn't done much with it. I mean, even last week he had 11 carries for 29 yards.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't had a workload all season, though. Last week he didn't get thrown the ball. This is the first week he's had a real workload. Right.
I love seeing the passing game work, but unless I see one more game of where he's going to get 4 more targets, I'm still kind of hesitant on Ronald Jones.
Yeah, I mean,
he's definitely the guy going forward. It's just Barber won't go away.
I think Barber will go away if Ronald Jones has just a breakout game.
Yeah, I hate the fact that he got red zone work yesterday, Peyton Barber.
Yeah, and again, like that'll go away, I think, if Ronald Jones has a breakout game. So I think Peyton Barber, they want to find a reason to phase him out.
Right. But they're hoping it's Jones, but Jones just doesn't do anything really that just catches your eye, except for those 8 catches yesterday. The 8 receptions is kind of one of those things that starts to open your eyes. So,
what do you think, Andrew?
I guess I'm kind of on the fence. I see both sides. I think Jones is a more talented guy. I think you're right that they do want to give him the job, but I also see Joey's point that he hasn't really shown it yet. I guess I think we're speculating that he's the better player, but he's going to prove it, I guess.
So and I also worry if they're just a candidate to go grab somebody in next year's draft.
Exactly.
It's possible. It's definitely possible. I think they have enough other things they need to worry about that would be a low priority there. My other thing would be that I think the draft capital that they invested in him, they're still invested in trying to get him involved in the offense. And I think that that's going to continue moving forward.
It was a different coaching staff. Is it the same front office?
Same front office.
Mhm.
Yeah. So they're not going to.
So then,
necessarily.
the other thing is I think that if Ronald Jones does have that breakout game, it's too late to buy him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Because he's probably owned before the season even started. He was drafted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. This is a matter of whether or not you're willing to go out and get him.
Gotcha.
And I think that you can't get him after he has this breakout game, not at a reasonable price.
Right.
I'm actually kind of pleasantly surprised by his efficiency metrics. I wouldn't have thought that he was at 4 yards per carry this year.
I wouldn't either.
He's exactly 4.0, and he's actually averaging 12.6 yards per reception, which is a lot better than I would have thought given his reputation in the passing game. So
what's his catch rate?
16-19. So it's a lot better than I thought. As well. Yeah.
They're giving him pretty short targets. That he's just getting to run with.
Yeah.
And he gets to use that speed.
Yeah.
4 yards per carry isn't great, but given how bad that running offense has been, I think it's decent.
Yeah.
And we also haven't seen him in substantial workloads in the run game yet, and I think that he could start to take that away from Barber.
Let me double check his total carries. I think he had 100 carries on the season. I think he's 103 for 410. Yeah, 100.
And I think we lost Sanders. So.
I think we did too. 103 carries for 410 yards, they were saying. Oh, you there?
Yeah, sorry. I think I cut out there for a second. 103 attempts for 410 yards.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I think is more than you would have thought. That means more than I would have thought.
Oh, yeah. I definitely wouldn't have thought he had 100 carries, honestly, this year.
Well, there you go.
And Peyton Barber only has 94, and he's averaging 3.4 yards per carry and 4.6 yards per reception.
Jeez.
That's gross.
That's idiot.
Yeah, it's really disgusting. All right. Let's move on to the next guy. Either of you guys have somebody you want to talk about?
Talk about Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. They can both play together.
Yeah. So, go ahead, Andrew.
I was thinking of them when we were talking about the Kenyon Drake and David Johnson situation where, if they're going to run like a spread them out offense, you can have both of them on the field and create those, short reception opportunities where they can get a lot of yards after reception, right? And so they can use either guy, split out wide or in the backfield. So, I think it's a really good situation for them to be in, especially where they're a little bit thin in talent at tight end, so they can get somebody that can maybe run some of those inside seam routes that the tight end would normally run. Because if the option is to put Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb on the field, or Ricky Seals-Jones or Demetrius Harris on the field, I think it's a pretty obvious choice. And they can do some similar things, right? They can still be involved in the blocking game and the receiving game. So. No, I think it's a very, very interesting situation. The other thing is, a lot of people, seem to be really worried about Chubb's value after Hunt comes back, and I don't think it's going to hit it nearly as hard as people seem to be. Well, not everyone, but some people, yeah. What do you guys think?
I mean, Chubb still had 120 yards yesterday, at over 5 yards per carry, 5.3 yards per carry. Yeah. Hunt had, I think he only had 9 carries, but still he had 7 carries or 9 carries. Well, I'll tell you in 2 seconds.
He had a bunch of work.
He had 4 carries, 4 carries for 30 yards, and he had 9 targets. So
yeah,
I mean that's nice for him. That'll work for him, but it's not going to affect Chubb. Chubb still got 20 carries.
Okay, so here's the question then: how many targets did Chubb get?
4.
Okay, so. Just thinking about it, because the Browns won that game. So, given how poorly the Browns have played over the course of the year, let's say that the game script is not necessarily neutral going down the stretch. Let's say that Browns are playing from behind a lot and he can't get Chubb 20 carries. Then you're starting to get into the territory where Kareem Hunt might actually be cutting into Chubb's volume, because you can't you can no longer do Chubb's going to get most of the rushing work, Hunt's going to get most of the receiving work. You can't really do that anymore because, maybe Chubb's only getting 10 carries and maybe they're playing from behind and throwing the ball a lot.
But they played behind for most of the year, and Chubb's still been getting the carries.
Yeah, playing from behind.
He's still running, 15, 20 times a game playing behind.
Right. So then you give Kareem Hunt, 4 or 5 of those carries a game. Then you're down to 15 carries, and maybe you're getting less targets because Hunt is on the field on those passing downs.
So he pretty much nailed his season average in both rushing and receiving game work yesterday. Like, he had 20 attempts in the running game, which was his second high. Like, he had a bunch of 20 attempts, as high as 23. That only happened once. He's got 36 receptions in 9 games, literally exactly 4 targets per game, which is what he got yesterday. Like, I know what you're saying. Like, it could affect him in a more playing from behind game, but they have been playing from behind most of the season.
Right, but what I'm saying is he basically matched his average from the year in a favorable game script where he should have exceeded his average.
Yeah, but it's also playing a good defense, and he still gashed him for 116 yards.
Oh, don't get me wrong. He's really good. I'm not saying that his efficiency is going down. I'm just saying that, to think that his volume isn't going to change, I think is naive. I think that he's going to see a change in his volume.
I think it's a change, but I don't think it's as drastic as everybody thinks. Even if it drops to 15 carries, he's still averaging 5.5 yards a carry. So even in just pure rushing yards, he's still getting about 80 yards a game. And you throw in 1 touchdown, I'm okay with 80 yards and a touchdown.
Right, absolutely. I'm just saying that it's definitely worth considering that the game that we watched on Sunday was not the same type of game script they've been facing all year. So to see the same production is a little concerning in terms of how much we're going to see for him going forward. That said, the defenses they're facing going forward are not all that good.
Right.
So. Just looking at their game results, most of their losses have been 1 score loss. I guess 50-50, 1 or 2 score losses. Outside of the Tennessee game and the San Francisco game, they've been in competitive games. So, I don't think that they're going to be in this super negative game script where they're getting blown out. But even in those games, he's getting 17 attempts, 16 attempts. So, I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess playing from 1 score behind in the fourth quarter, you're still trying to air it out in case you don't end up getting that touchdown, and then you got to stop them and get the ball back with enough time to score again. So, the final score doesn't always tell the whole story of game scripts. So I think we'll get back to it again next week, but it's definitely worth looking into because you can definitely find stats on what percentage of plays are played in positive versus negative game script. So I'll look into that after the podcast today. But Andrew, got anyone you want to talk about?
I thought I did, but I lost my sheet, and it is.
You guys are
Damian Williams
today.
It's Damian Williams.
Okay, we got somebody. So LaShawn McCoy, healthy scratch. Is this all systems go for Damian Williams? Or are we going to get screwed on this again in a couple weeks?
If he doesn't get hurt, I think it's his.
I
think he never would have lost Chubb if he hadn't had that injury, and I think that provided that he doesn't get injured again, he's going to keep it because, he's not nearly as effective in the running game, but I think he's better in the passing game, and I think that's a more valuable asset to the KC offense.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that 1 fumble from McCoy was kind of one of those things where Andy Reid now says he's saving McCoy for the playoffs, which he probably is, but he's also saying that McCoy's not getting much work for the rest of the season.
Yeah, so, I mean, maybe. I don't trust anything that man says, so I just I'll be starting Damian Williams where I have him. I don't feel good about it. And if I'm not contending, I'm definitely selling Damian Williams because I have zero faith that Damian Williams is going to be the starter there next year.
I agree there.
No, but I'd rather do a championship this year if I could.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And also, like, going back to Chubb, if his production does start to dip, I'm definitely buying Chubb because I don't think Kareem Hunt will be around. So
agreed.
Right.
Yeah. All right, let's talk Andy Isabella. A lot of people, myself included, very high on him throughout the draft process. And then it was basically said that he was struggling to pick up the playbook and all that stuff and just struggling with the techniques and acclimating to the NFL. And then basically didn't see the field all year. And now he's finally like they're getting him on the field and getting him like a couple touches here and there, and he's just electric with the ball in his hand. So do you guys think that they're going to start getting him the ball more often, or do you think that this is kind of just what it is for the rest of the year where they just kind of work him in every once in a while?
I think he's going to start getting the ball more often. I mean, I think he's much better than Bird. He's better. Who's the other player they had slated ahead of him? I can't even remember his name.
Sherfield?
Yeah, Sherfield.
Keyshawn Johnson, Christian Kirk, Larry Fitzgerald.
Keyshawn Johnson, I think, will have a role, but he's still, I think Isabella's gone leapfrogged Keyshawn Johnson. He's kind of been hit or miss all year, mostly miss. He's just kind of like a four reception guy, but Isabella gets those big time targets. Like he had 3 receptions for 78 yards last week. He had the 88-yard touchdown against San Francisco the week before. It's like he's obviously showing that get the ball in his hands and he makes a big play. So I think moving forward, it's going to be Kirk, Fitz, and Isabella as the big time receiver targets for Arizona.
Okay, so you're buying him then?
Jerry? I am.
Are you buying him, Andrew?
At his current price. Maybe. I got him a couple places.
What do you think his current price is? Because you're delusional. So
I think the current price is probably like a third.
Okay, so you would buy him for a third right now?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Just because,
early third?
Yeah, I guess I don't really differentiate that much between early and late at that point in the draft.
Okay.
I'm not that concerned about a 3 versus a 3.9, I guess. But like, I'm still not like, oh yeah, he's got the job. Like he's still being outsnapped by, certainly by Keyshawn, if not by Bird and Sherfield. Although I think Sherfield's been kind of slipping down, like you guys said. But I worry about volume with a player like that. Like I've never been the guy to target Deshaun Jackson in fantasy football because I don't like you like the 2 receptions for 125 yards and a touchdown, but you hate the 1 catch for 7-yard games that just crush you, right?
Right, but those 3 for 77, that's happening with minimal play time at the moment.
Right, I think he had 19 snaps.
Right, so
3 targets and 19 snaps is pretty good.
Right, so I guess you obviously can't extrapolate that out, but what you're looking at then is a player who's not just a go deep player. You're looking at somebody who can take the slant and take the home run, and theoretically in this type of offense, you're spreading the field out and you get them out into space and you can potentially work there. Even within the short to intermediate, and then just let him use his speed. So let's say you have him, or you're buying for a third. Would you be willing to sell him for a late second?
Probably.
I would.
Okay, interesting. So that's right where your price point is basically early third, late second.
Yeah, he's not a guy that I'm in love with. He's a guy that he's basically a flyer, right? He's a guy that could potentially be worth something someday. So yeah, I'll invest a late third, or I'll invest a third to try to get the payoff. But also, I think a 2 would be a payoff because I probably got him in the third or the fourth. So you flip him right away.
Isabella, I think, was going late second, early third around draft time, but his price is probably meeting what you bought him for at this point.
I have a quick question. So say Fitz retires next year, right?
Yep.
Who takes over Fitz's role in the offense? Does Isabella move more towards the slot, or is it more of like a Keyshawn Johnson type of deal?
I don't know that Fitz has as defined a role in this offense as what he's had in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're seeing that with Fitz's production. So I'm not really so interested in who takes over Fitz's role as who takes over Fitz's targets. And
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be Christian Kirk getting the vast majority of those targets. Keep in mind they'll be adding Hakeem Butler to the mix next year, though.
True. I kind of
He's
forgot about
a
that.
little bit raw, so so that might need a little time to get acclimated in the same way that that Isabella did. So it's going to be very interesting, but I think they throw the ball enough that they can support 2 receivers, if not 3.
Mm-hmm.
And, if Isabella is third in the pecking order there, if he's third in targets on the team, like those targets can be highly efficient in terms of yards.
Yeah, I hear you.
So we're going to take our last short break, and then we'll be back to talk a couple other players here. All right, we are back, and I am very excited to talk about this next guy because I've been waiting a very long time for him to finally get some real NFL work here. Derrius Guice is coming back after the bye this week, and I am excited about it. Short term, I don't think that there's going to be a whole lot of value to be had here because they got Chris Thompson and Adrian Peterson there. Although Thompson's banged up, I don't know how long he's out for. But I think that long term, Adrian Peterson's probably not going to stick around another year, and I think that Chris Thompson is probably not going to be somebody they're going to want to pay. So I think Guice is going to be there, and I know they're committed to running the football. I am absolutely willing to buy Guice, if not now, over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I can definitely buy Guice. I mean, he's got loads and loads of talent. I just worry about his knees. The guy, he can't seem to stay healthy. He's barely touched the field since he's been in the NFL, and that just worries me.
What's the price you're buying at?
I'd probably buy him for a second.
Oof. Okay.
I mean, I think that the upside this year is probably not there without an Adrian Peterson injury, but I think next year and beyond, health provided, that's somebody that could get monster volume.
I bet you're getting that second just about anywhere you offer it because I think probably anybody that drafted him in Dynasty is fed up with him at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that anybody who's drafted him in Dynasty sees the light at the end of the tunnel right now, and this is probably not the best time to buy him because I think that everybody who's waited is like, okay, I've waited this long, I'm going to see what we got in him, So I think the time to buy is probably in a couple of weeks when he's splitting carries with Adrian Peterson and getting like 6-7 carries a game.
Mm-hmm. It'd be nice to see what he does with those carries, though.
Yeah. Because I honestly think that if he is getting 6-7 carries a game, I think you might be able to get him cheaper than a second.
I could see that. That would be very nice, actually. Get Guice for a third.
Yeah, or even just like a late second.
I just think based on the logic that the people that held him that long are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't think anybody's giving him up like for a third.
Right. No, I think that if he goes,
yeah.
I think if he goes in there and he doesn't play well or he doesn't get the volume that he needs to, I think that then that's your buying window. You probably can't get him for a third, but you can get him for a third plus as opposed to a second probably.
So let's say he comes back and he gets dinged up again. Are you still buying? Are you buying even lower? Or
if he gets injured again and it's like even like a slightly significant injury, even if it's just missing a couple of games, I think I'm giving up on him.
If it's just a couple of games, it definitely depends on the injury. If it's another knee injury, no.
If it's back at the knees, then I think I'm done.
If he's got something else going on, then yeah, I'm probably still buying.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's just too talented, and he's in a good situation for running the football. So I don't know. I'm buying there. Who do you guys want to talk about? We got a few minutes left here.
Let's talk Mike Gesicki finally showing up after a year and a half.
Yeah, I mean, I think people got really impatient with him.
Yeah.
This is what happens with tight ends.
Right.
He's an athletic freak, and he's finally getting a little bit of volume there. I think this will be good for his development. I like Gesicki because I think the sky's the limit with his athletic ability and his ball skills. I think that they've just got to figure out how to use him, and I think this will be Miami's opportunity to figure out how to use him.
Yeah, just give Fitzpatrick the ball and just tell him just keep throwing it.
Yep.
Just
pretty
keep
much.
winging it, and who cares if we lose? It doesn't matter at this point. Just get your receivers involved and see what we got.
Do you have to tell Fitzpatrick to do that? I thought that was kind of his MO.
Yeah. He's got this crazy little demon inside that beard that says, just throw it, just throw it, just throw it.
Did you? So I don't want to go off topic on Fitzpatrick, but I do. Did you see the video of him going to the team bus to go to I guess Indy on the weekend?
Oh
no.
So it's this video, and I don't know who posted this, but it's him walking to the team bus, and the only everyone's got their suitcase or the duffel bag or whatever they got. The only thing he's got is a shoebox.
Beautiful. I was hoping you were going to say gator skin fanny pack.
No, yeah. I presume whoever took the video confirmed that the only thing he took on this road trip was a shoebox.
Spare pair of shoes.
And I just love that. He's just I think he's just a wild card, and he seems like he'd be a fun guy to hang out with. I don't know.
And he's smarter than shit too.
Oh yeah.
So along the lines of Miami here, running back situation. What are you guys thinking there?
Avoid.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Avoid it like the plague. But I'd like to see if they get Gaskin involved at all.
Yeah.
I hope they do.
I like Myles Gaskin. I think you can get him for less than a third at this point.
Oh, I definitely think you could probably get him for a lot less than a third. I think everybody's kind of forgotten about him.
So, yeah, I'm in on that. I have him in a bunch of leagues because I was anticipating the failure of Kalen Ballage. And sure as hell, the failure of Kalen Ballage right before us.
Epically, too.
So, yeah, I like Myles Gaskin as kind of just like a sleeper pick for the rest of the year and then just kind of cash out on him depending on what he does. But I think that Miami has so many needs. Running back is probably lower on that list. So if Gaskin goes in there and he's even serviceable, they could just run with it next year and maybe just bring somebody else in to split carries with them. But
Ronald Jones style.
Yeah, I mean, for basically free, you're taking a lottery shot on somebody getting some sort of production this year and maybe hanging on to a job for next year.
And I mean, at this point, what do you have to lose? You might as well see what you got in some of these draft picks you made last year.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I mean, they won a couple of games in a row, but I mean, they're not going to the playoffs, so at least check it out, see what's going on there.
Exactly.
And then last guy we got to talk about here, Darius Slayton, looking really sharp.
Looked great.
Yeah.
I actually, I watched a couple other games recently, and I honestly didn't. He looks bigger than he is. I don't know how tall is Darius Slayton. He looks like he's got decent size.
I think he's 6'1".
Yeah, 6'1", 194.
Yeah.
But I forgot who was covering him. I think it was Hairston possibly on his long touchdown yesterday. He burnt him so bad in his route. He just made one move, a quick stop and go, and he almost put the guy in his ass. And it was just to be able to run a route. I mean, it wasn't the most beautiful route in the world, but to be able to make that route and then just use that speed, nobody's catching him.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, scouting him, he was very comparable to Mecole Hardman for me. Those two were very similar players. Hardman just had a lot more hype coming after him in the draft, and then he obviously landed in KC. Yeah. But those two were very similar players in that they run good routes. They have really good top-end speed. They're explosive out of their breaks. Slayton has had some trouble with his hands from time to time, but realistically, in terms of fantasy, drops don't matter. They're so few and far between. It's mostly just if the drops become such a problem that the team loses confidence in him. And the Giants don't have a whole lot of options other than to throw the ball, and behind Slayton, they don't have a lot of great options. So
Plus, to start the season, you had a Daniel Jones guy on the practice squad was with Darius Slayton because they're both second teamers.
Yep. And that's backup quarterback syndrome. That's what happens there, and they develop a rapport. So I like Darius Slayton. I don't know if he's ever going to be a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 over the course of a year. So this might be one of those situations where I'm actually like looking for a really good sell window where people are really high on a young talent who basically like is playing really well in his rookie year, and people just kind of are expecting that to keep growing when realistically the ceiling is pretty close to where they're already at, because that's just kind of the role they're going to play. So I might be looking for a sell window, but if somebody's not sold on Slayton, this might be a buy window too. It just kind of depends on your league. So I think in the end, probably what you're going to be looking for is like a late second round pick for Slayton. And I think there'll be some people that'll see his age production combo, and some people will bite on that. Some people won't. But I think that's a pretty good sell point for him. If you can cash in on that, I think that's a pretty good point for that.
Yeah.
What I remember from Slayton from the pre-draft process, from what I remember reading, was that exactly what you said. But drops are the big question mark. So he's a guy that I don't have anywhere. But like you said, they're few and far between. He get 14 targets yesterday.
Yeah.
If he's seeing that kind of volume,
and he had 10 receptions too.
Yeah, like that's not the sort of the box score expectation that I had of him coming into the season. 10
no,
for
absolutely
121,
not.
Right?
So what happens to that production if they add a true number 1 wide receiver?
Well, I saw some people worried about Sterling Shepard coming back, and it's like I don't know that Sterling Shepard was ever a 10 for 120 guy himself. So I think in my mind, Slayton is the number 1 at this point. If they add somebody next year, if they add like a Lamb or Judy or Ruggs, like I don't know. I think he probably slides back into number 2, but again, that could be the sort of situation where, like in Pittsburgh, did Juju benefit from being the number 2? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, you're also looking too at Barkley and Ingram as well. Ingram was out, Shepard was out, so really it was just him and Golden Tate out there, and they weren't really throwing to Barkley.
Right.
And that was part of the problem. I don't think that that's going to be a common thing where Barkley doesn't get his touches out of the backfield. And I think that adding Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram back is going to kind of cut into that a little bit. So I think realistically, you're probably looking at a guy that's like a 6 target a game player, which is fine. But
I see him as Emmanuel Sanders in Denver.
Okay, but Emmanuel Sanders in Denver, you're like, it's him, Demaryius Thomas, and then what? You know, like Philip Lindsay gets some targets here and there, but you don't have an Evan Ingram over there. You don't have a Saquon Barkley over there. So I think like there's a lot less targets to go around, and I think the Giants are going to want to get to the point where they can be leading in games and run the football more. So I like 6 targets a game, I think, is kind of just the role that I see for him. And if you can cash in on young production, like he's a talented player, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to have his good games because he does have that electric speed and he can make some big plays. But are you ever going to feel good about starting him as a wide receiver 2 or a wide receiver 3 once you get that full offense back with Golden Tate, Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard, Saquon Barkley? Are you going to feel good about starting him as a number 2 or number 3 receiver in your lineup?
No.
Probably not.
Maybe,
but I
mean, he's got potential. That's the problem. He's got all the potential in the world.
As maybe like a flex play, something like that. But like, if you can cash in like a pseudo flex play for a 2nd round pick, I think you're doing that because you're trying to get a starter out of those 2nd round picks. Like you're taking lottery shots at that.
Right.
I like the sound of 96 targets on the season. 6 targets a game, that's 96 in the season. That's a reasonable target share.
Yeah.
But he won't with Tate, Shepard, and Ingram, and if they add another receiver, I think the red zone targets go down too.
But
And Barkley.
so let's say he gets 96 targets, and he's sitting at maybe like 65 receptions at is that something that you want as your wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, assuming that like this is like a good scenario for him?
Probably not. That's probably like wide receiver 3 territory.
Okay, to me that's like wide receiver 3 flex territory.
Yeah.
And I think I'd rather have a productive running back in the flex than a wide receiver. But so for me, I think like people are going to be enamored with this production at such a young age, and I get it, but I think that there definitely is like a ceiling cap there.
Right. I think if I'm getting a second for Slayton, I'm selling.
Right. And I think you can get that some places. I think if you can buy him for a third, you buy him. If you can sell him for a second, you sell him.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, this has been the F3 podcast. You can find us on YouTube at Writer Digest Network, Writer spelled REITER. You can find our written content at dynastyfootballdigest.com or at idpguys.org. For $1 a month, you can subscribe to our websites. You get tools, rankings, offensive, defensive ADP, trade calculators, start sit charts. You can get into our Slack channel where we will answer any and all questions you have in a timely manner. You can find me at Lanny1925 on Twitter. You can find Joey at
Joey the Tooth IDP. That's
and
it.
Andrew, where the hell can we find you?
I still haven't made my my Lanigan fan
we're
account,
ignoring
so
Andrew for a
You
moment.
can find him in Canada.
He'll be in Canada.